Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare. Jaya Radha Shyam Sundar Jaya Radha Shyam Sundar Jaya Radha Shyam Sundar Jaya Shri Radhe. Jaya Gauranita 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 Jaya Gauranita. Jaya Sitaram Ji, Jaya Sitaram Ji, Jaya Sitaram Ji, Jaya Lakshmana Hanuman. Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada.
Noisy fan. The fan can get turned off. Just unplug it. Does everybody know everybody? Yes? Mostly? Completely? Okay. Yamuna wanted me to pick some topics for the different programs. So this one was selected purposely so that you can hear the recordings of the rest. It's a several-part seminar. Or, if you're really adventuresome, during the Thanksgiving holiday, I'll be presenting this topic in full. It's like 12-part series on respect. I'll give two little backgrounds. One little background was in our Naperville temple, suburb of Chicago, Naperville. Like many other temples, the more and more new people are coming in the door. And most of those new people coming into the door these days, not only in Naperville, but all over, maybe it's different here, I don't know, but largely it's non-resident Indian professionals. And there's something about non-resident Indian professionals is, generally speaking, they're well educated. Generally speaking, because they're well educated, they have good jobs. And because they have good jobs, they have stuff. They have a nice house and a this and a that and the other thing. And they also have an upbringing that says, this is how in our upbringing community we worshiped Krishna. So they do that because it's how they were brought up. It's how they were brought up. And that's natural, and it's fine. And there's another another situation that is, they think they're right. They're very smart and they think they're right. And they feel entitled to. So we found in that community and other communities, there's dissension that brews, naturally so. New people come and they have, pluses and minuses, and the minuses is where they clash. And there's dissension. And sometimes it's gentle and sometimes it's not so gentle, and the volume seems to be increasing. So what to do? So a decision was made that we'll have an annual event, giving it a nice name, Vaishnava Etiquette, and have different speakers speak on the topic. So far it's been for 2 years. And both of those 2 years, my topic has been respect. Because without respect, you can't have a proper relationship. And so what respect look like? And when there's a proper relationship of respect. And this was part 2 of the same topic. And it's based upon that there's a subtitle, This Disease of Envy, that comes from the context. The context is Canto 3, Chapter 29, Kapila Dev's teachings to Devahuti. So the time is the very, 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 very beginning of creation. As you know, time moves in cycles. And so there's how many forms of Manu, how many different Manus are there in every day of Brahma? I mean, who knows the number? Simple. 14, right? You know that. You know that one? 14 Manus? 14 Manus. So we're existing during Manu number 7, the 28th Yuga cycle of Vaivasvata Manu. But the very, very beginning is, what's his name? The first Manu. Swayambhuva Manu. Swayambhuva Manu is direct son of Lord Brahma. And Swayambhuva Manu had a wife, and with his wife, they had 2 sons and 3 daughters. And one of those 3 daughters was in this picture here, Devahuti. And Devahuti, because she was the daughter of Manu, the Kshatriya princess, she had the privilege of selecting her husband. And she selected Kardama Muni. And Kardama Muni is a direct son of Lord Brahma. Kardama Muni was a Brahmana. And he had a very strong liking for the means of achieving spiritual perfection in such yuga, which is what? The means of achieving this, the Yuga Dharma, I'm asking you. Yuga Dharma in such a yuga is what? No. Dhyan. Meditation. Meditation. So he was off in the forest doing dhyan. He liked it. Very austere. And she heard about him. She heard about Kardama Muni. So she told her father, that's who I want to marry. So her father went to visit Kardama Muni in the forest. He found him. And made this marriage proposal. I mean, they said a few other things, I'm sure, but the marriage proposal. And Karamuni said, on a condition, on the one very simple condition, is a yes. And that one simple condition is, after marriage, there will be some children. And when the eldest son is of age to look after your daughter, then I'm going to return back to the forest. So his father, Swayambhuva Manu, relayed that to Devahuti, and Devahuti said, fine. And so that's what happened. And Karamuni, being very powerful, just by his own mystic power, he manifested what you see on the screen. He manifested a palace from his mystic power. Doesn't say how he did it, but he manifested a palace. Because she's a princess, she's used to comforts. So he wanted her to not be uncomfortable. And after some time, a son was born. The son was an incarnation named Kapila Dev. He's listed in the avatars. And sure enough, when he was old enough to look after his mother, Karamuni went back to the forest. Now, in this painting and in this whole scene, Canto 3, middle parts of Canto 3, middle and latter parts of Canto 3, because the earlier parts are describing creation, and then sub-creation, what Brahma does to populate the universe, and Prajapatis and demigods and the whole thing. All described in the Bhagavatam. Then each of the three daughters, much more is said about Devahuti than her two sisters, Akuti and Prasuti. They sound like names, Devahuti. And then there's a whole section, in this is Canto 3. Canto 4, a whole section on the elder of the two brothers, Uttanapada, and then Priyavrata. It's a whole lengthy description. Dhruva, the son of Uttanapada. The whole nice discussion. So it's part of what the Bhagavatam does. It's not the only thing, but it's, the chronology of the universe and the personality, the primary or prominent personalities during the creation of the universe and for periods of time. So when you hear the name Kapila Dev, what do you think of commonly? Anyone want to volunteer? Sankhya. Long section. What is Sankhya? Sankhya is the analytical study of matter and spirit. And scholars and Mayavadis really like Sankhya. They like to sharpen their intellect, and to understand, you have to have a sharp intellect. So, they study it assiduously. However, when Kapila Dev teaches Sankhya, it leads to bhakti, exactly as in Bhagavad Gita. What's the first topic in chapter 2 Bhagavad Gita? Answer, Sankhya. You're not the body. And then it's again chapter 7, then it's again chapter 13, Sankhya. And it leads to bhakti. Because right after Krishna explains Sankhya to Arjuna, he announces, da-da-da-da, I've now described Sankhya, and now I'm going to describe Bodhi. and the way the Prabhupada is rendered, the buddhi that's being talked about is bhakti. It's intelligence, how to live your life according to who you really are. You're not the body. Then who are you? And then live your life accordingly. That's bhakti or buddhi yoga. He uses them interchangeably. So same in Canto 3. In the middle later chapters, extensively he discusses Sankhya. And then he moves on from Sankhya. Next comes, what do you do with that knowledge of matter and spirit? You live according to the realm of spirit. And that leads to bhakti. He's not a sadhaka, he's the personality of Godhead, explaining it to his mother. Because basically her question is, what am I going to do when you're gone? That's a good question. Everything's going to be gone after some time. What do we do to prepare ourselves for that? So comes teachings of devotional service. That's what so this whole seminar is an expanding of the topic of Canto 3, Chapter 29, Kapila Dev to Devahuti. I'm going to read. Everything about how to achieve complete success in the process of devotional service is explained by Kapila Dev, Canto 3, Chapter 29. Explanation of devotional service. So within this chapter, there's a definition that very much resonates with Rupa Goswami's definition of bhakti, pure bhakti. So we know that Rupa Goswami's definition is very simple. And those same elements are in, we'll see, the verse this morning. Respect is the major theme of chapter 29. And how do we know that? That's not the exact language of Kapila Dev, but our two commentators, Vishwanath and Jiva Goswami, explain it. Kapila Dev speaks with deliberately exaggerated anger when he's explaining bhakti to his mother. And why is he having anger? Transcendental anger, of course. Because people superficially say, I follow bhakti, when they don't. In reality, they violate fundamental principles, or the fundamental principle of bhakti, respect for other living beings. That violation makes Kapila Dev angry, or transcendentally angry. So you see in red letters, Vidambanam. We talked about that a little bit on the way over. Vidambanam means imitation. This is from later in chapter 29. Here's his Kapila Dev saying to his mother, and it's interesting dialogue. Imagine talking to your son and he's identifying himself as the personality of Godhead, and you know he's the personality of Godhead, your son. So pretty exceptional. She's pretty elevated and he's the personality of Godhead. I am present in every living entity as the Supersoul. If someone neglects or disregards, notice the Sanskrit, avagya. If one neglects or disregards that Supersoul everywhere and engages himself in the worship of the deity in the temple, he is simply imitation. This is simply imitation. A topic we discussed on the way in the car over here. So, make Kapila Dev angry, and it can make knowledgeable persons also. Now, they can just be tolerant and understand, well, he's engaged in the imitation, just like a child can imitate their parent in worshiping a deity. And it's nice to see the little child worshiping the deity. But if it stops with just the worship of the deity and it doesn't go beyond the worship of the deity, particularly if there's neglect or disregard or disrespect for other living entities who are carrying an expansion of the deity in their heart, that's a problem. Socially, it's a problem. Interpersonally, it's a problem. Personally, it's a problem. And say it the other way, it's actually rare where someone is actually executing pure devotional service. It's rare. But he's teaching the principles of devotional service. So he has to, as Rupa Goswami also has to. Here's Srila Prabhupada's purport in 2 slides. In purified consciousness or Krishna consciousness, one sees the presence of Krishna everywhere. Notice Krishna's everywhere, all those blue super souls. If, therefore, one only engages in deity worship in the temple and does not consider other living entities, then he is on the lowest grade of devotional service. One who worships the deity in the temple and does not show respect to others is a devotee on the material platform, or the lowest stage of devotional service. A devotee should try to understand everything in relationship with Krishna and try to serve everything in that spirit. To serve everything means to engage everything in the service of Krishna. If a person is innocent and does not know his relationship with Krishna, an advanced devotee should try to engage him in the service of Krishna. One who is advanced in Krishna consciousness can engage not only the living being, but everything in the service of Krishna. Paragraph. Now there's supposed to be another slide. Anyway, this resonates with another text that comes earlier, because this is Canto 3, Chapter 29. Here's Canto 1, Chapter 2. You all know the verse. We can say the verse together. Savai pungsang paro dharmo yato bhaktir adhoksaje ahaituki apratihata yayatma suprasidati. It's a well-known verse. The supreme occupation, dharma, for all humanity is that by which men can attain to loving devotional service unto the transcendent Lord. Such devotional service must be unmotivated, ahaituki, and uninterrupted, pratiyata, to completely satisfy the self, atma suprasidati. Now, that is a Bhagavatam way of explaining. Here's a conventional author explaining. Similar principle. Anyway, why look any further if you've discovered complete satisfaction? So, the suprasidati, why do people do things? They want happiness or satisfaction. And if something gives you complete satisfaction, you don't need to go anyplace else. That's unalloyed devotional service. No interest in anything else, thank you. I'm feeling fully satisfied, and everything is in this one thing. So thank you, but no thank you. To amplify this Further, in Jiva Goswami's writings, this is from Priti Sandarbha. And if you need an introduction to Jiva Goswami, you all know who is Jiva Goswami? You're nodding. So if you're saying no, do one of these. Okay. Hare Krishna. So, in Jiva Goswami's massive writings, he made 3 commentaries on Srimad Bhagavatam, and one of those 3 is topic by topic, called the Sandarbhas. And he limited it to 6. And the final of the 6 is Priti Sandarbha. Priti is a nice girl's name, lady's name, and it means love or affection. Priti Sandarbha is a treatise explaining the natural, transcendental affection that people have the potential for and how to achieve it. So the goal of all human endeavors is to become happy. And this is Priti Sandarbha's, the way that he makes his composition. One of the principles is he makes declaratory statements. It's like a lawyer building a case. He makes a declaratory statement, da-da-da-da-da-da, and then gives case law to support his statement. And then, but some people will say, not that, but this. Then he'll take this and make another declaratory statement and make scriptural references that support. So at the end of the Sandarbha, you're like, okay, it's compelling. So here's the introductory verse. He's making a declaratory statement. The goal of a human being is attaining happiness and destroying suffering. No one's going to agree with that. Complete happiness and destruction of suffering is attained only by priti for the Lord. Priti is indicating, it's another interchangeably used, many cases, with the word prema. So prema bhakti is the topmost, priti is the topmost. Where there's genuine, transcendental, abundant affection for the object, the supreme person, the supreme source of everything. So complete happiness and complete destruction of suffering means the spiritual position. Complete happiness and complete destruction of suffering. Because what does suffering arise from? Answer: suffering arises from ignorance. Buddha has a different teaching. Buddha's different teaching is the root cause of suffering is desire. You want to become free from suffering? Become free from desire. How do you become free from desire? 2 things. This is Buddhism. Classic, because there's different iterations of Buddhism. So classic is live a life of goodness, starting with ahimsa, and all the good things. Truthfulness, cleanliness, mercy, compassion, mode of goodness. Frame your life in the quality of goodness, 24/7. And within that incubation chamber, engage yourself in mindfulness. Mindfulness is a buzz in today's world. Once I was asked, could you give a class, a little seminar on mindfulness? So I was at somebody's home, and I asked, in the corporate world, does this mindfulness come up? He said, oh, yes. Everyone in the leadership in corporate sectors must take a course in the Mindful Manager. It's the buzz, it's commercial. Mindful Manager. That's mindfulness, the Mindful Manager. But mindfulness for a Buddhist means consciousness. Because Buddha's teachings, this is from Jiva Goswami's Tattva Sandarbha, the first of the six. He writes that in Buddha's teaching, he doesn't say that there's a soul, he doesn't say there's not a soul, he doesn't speak about the soul. He speaks about consciousness, and consciousness is a symptom of the soul. So consciousness, according to Buddha, or Buddhism, is the moment. What's consciousness? The moment. Because the past is gone and the future hasn't happened yet, so all there is the moment. So be in the moment. And that's consciousness. Be in the moment, be in the moment, be in the moment. And when you're really good, like you're perfect in being in the moment, what happens? Enlightenment. And what's enlightenment? The Sanskrit phrase is nirvana. Nirvana means, nir means not. Vana means forest. So the forest of material existence, or this termination of material existence. Nirvana. For a Buddhist, what's that? It's nothingness. Or we're accustomed to saying void, voidism. So what's after somethingness is nothingness. Because the somethingness is just the moment and the moment and the moment, and that's all there is. You know, stuff and you name it, it just, what's the substance of stuff? Void, nothingness. So when you become fully enlightened, you're in that nothingness zone. Nirvana. You're enlightened. So the root cause of suffering, according to Buddhism, everyone knows, I've done this hundreds of times, desire. So it's a big deal for Buddhists to become free from desire. Prabhupada's teaching is, there's no such thing. There's no such thing because living entities are parts and parcel of the Supreme. And as the Supreme has desire, transcendental desire, living entity also has desire. You can't annihilate desire. You can't get a dagger and stab it to death. And its souls don't go out of existence. And as long as they're existing, there's desire. So, therefore, Vaishnava teaching is the root cause of suffering is ignorance. Because where there's ignorance, then there's ignorant desire. And ignorant desire brings about ignorant activity. And when there's ignorant activity, then you suffer. So if you want to get rid of suffering, get rid of ignorance. And how to get rid of ignorance? Turn on the light. Tamasi ma jyotir gama. Light dispels darkness. It's a very simple principle. It's true. It can be repeated over and over and over and over n number of times. Light dispels darkness. Knowledge dispels ignorance. And the real substantial knowledge is that which arises from bhakti. Bhakti parishanubhava viraktir anyatra syat. When bhakti is fully manifest, knowledge and detachment are there. Detachment from darkness and the light of transcendence. or one's relationship with Krishna. Then it's real dissolution of ignorance, or real knowledge of the Supreme. But somehow or other, it seems like devotional service may not be working for us. So devotional service is supposed to conceptually awaken knowledge and bring detachment. But somehow or another, it seems to, I met somebody. Before coming here, I was in Naperville. So there's a bunch of new people, like many other places, bunch of new people. And the host, after the class was over, we had a little conversation with the family, and he said, I'm not experiencing what I expected to experience from chanting. It was just very direct, honest. Many people feel it and they may not say it, or they may say it in different ways. It wasn't like faithless, it's just it hasn't happened yet. Why? There's nothing wrong with the holy name. So it's not out there that the problem is in here. So this whole chapter is dealing with the what's in here part. Those forces that block the power of bhakti. The teaching of bhakti, because that's what chapter 29 is, explanation of devotional service. Bhakti is very powerful. And there are elements that have the power to block the power of bhakti. And there are different varieties of ignorance, just like clouds in the sky have the power to block the heat and light of the sun. Above the clouds, the heat and light of the sun is the same everywhere. But if there's no clouds in the sky, then it's full brilliance. But if you're below a bunch of clouds, then the fullness of the heat and light of the sun doesn't come through the clouds. Similarly, bhakti is all powerful, but there are some forces that block the power of bhakti. Subjectively, one experiences not the fullness of the power of bhakti. That's what most of us are doing. So that's the why and what to do. So a further explanation he describes. When we start devotional service, you see on the left side this illustration, different modes of nature. And even in the mode of goodness, there's a desire for that which is of temporary things, including the desire for liberation is a temporary thing, unless it's situated in the eternal activity of the living being that is serving the Supreme with love, bhakti. When we start our devotional service, inevitably, we start in the modes of nature. That's the left side of the page. We cannot suddenly jump to a transcendental level. It doesn't work that way. So our devotional service is faulty due to its being performed with ulterior motivations. So there's a chart that speaks about motivations on the left side, and the modes of nature on the far left side. The motivation for each of those modes, and the word that's used here is separatist mentality, or binadrik. We'll see that phrase in this chapter. Bina. It's like Krishna says in chapter 7, the Prakriti has 7 separated energies. Bina Prakriti Ashtada. Bina. Prakriti Ashtada. 8, not 7, 8. The message of chapter 29 is, as with worshiping the deity, also the manifestation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is all-pervasive. Vishnu means all-pervasive. It's the literal meaning of Vishnu. He's everywhere. Vishnu, the meaning of a Sanskrit phrase or sound. And there isn't a place where he isn't. He's not only within the heart of every living entity, he's within every atom and between every atom. He's everywhere. As Brahman is everywhere, Paramatma is everywhere. Like right now, we're in Brahman. We're in Brahman because Brahman is the basis and support of everything. From Brahman, everything comes. But there's Para-Brahman, that's from Krishna, everything comes. Because Brahman comes from Krishna. But right now, we're situated, in Brahman. Because there's Prakriti, that's the perceivable part. And the not perceivable part is what Brahman is resting upon. Just like, there's a floor. Most likely, there's, the architects that built this, or that designed the building, and the carpenters that built the building. There's the floor, there's flooring, and then there's support beams underneath the flooring. And those support beams underneath the flooring are resting upon the foundation. And the foundation is resting upon the earth. The earth that is resting upon what? Where does the earth come from? So where does everything come from? That's the pursuit of the absolute truth, that from which everything comes. Whatever that is, that's the absolute truth. So the Vedas describe the absolute truth as Brahman. And then Brahman is as an expansion, a feature of Para-Brahman. So we're resting in Krishna, because Super Soul is existing everywhere, as Brahman is existing everywhere. And then there's the personal feature. And if one sees oneself separate from that which is the source of everything, then they're separatists. That's one of the translations of this bina. Drik. Drik means to see. So one who sees separateness, they don't see the connection of all things with the source. So if something over there is flapping in misery, that doesn't affect me. But one who feels it doesn't affect me, that's, saying avoidist, doesn't affect me. The people are suffering, doesn't affect me because I'm not suffering, because I've disassociated myself with the temporary. I'm situated in nirvana, or an aberration is I'm situated in Brahman. I have Brahman realization. I'm not affected by anyone or anything, because it's all false anyways. Brahman Satya Jagat Mithya. That's false. Only one thing. Brahman. So that person, such a person, is seeing things separate. And that person is then devoid of compassion. So this chart itself could be a whole class, but through modes of nature, the motivation in the mode of ignorance, anger, getting back at someone, pride, destruction, tamas, no compassion on the right side. It's the separatist mentality. Rajas, I want to enjoy. And intense endeavor to get enjoyment. And then pride for flaunting my success and getting stuff. And feeling a little haughty about I'm better than other people at getting stuff. This entitlement thing I was mentioning. So, pratak bhava, desire for objects other than the Lord. So, getting a little bit closer is to desire objects in relation to the Lord, but more specifically, desire the Lord. If you have that desire fulfilled, then suffering is gone. So sattva guna motivation, this place is crazy, let me out of here. I want liberation. So I do stuff that's dutiful, making dutiful offerings to Vishnu, because he's the proprietor. I'm a mode of goodness person, and I want detachment. And ultimately I want liberation. So I'm a mode of goodness person. So I do mode of goodness things with other people, without the purpose of crushing them or defeating them or showing superiority, just by, the acts of kindness, the acts that are dutiful in relationship with others. Strongly desiring, I want liberation. Who's at the center? I want liberation. So that's a mode of goodness, motivation, and it's a mode of goodness bondage also. Because just by desiring to get out of here, because this place is crazy, it's not sufficient to get out of here. Negation is not sufficient. What's positive? So this goes into the realm of philosophy. What is? What's truth? What exists? What's substantial? In contrast with the opposite. So that's still within the three modes of nature. Because bhakti is not within the three modes of material nature. The Supreme Lord is not within the three modes of material nature. But desire for liberation is in the mode of goodness. It's in the modes of nature. Here's Kapila Dev's nice definition as we hear the translation. Remember the definition of Rupa Goswami. So this is towards the beginning of the chapter, text 11 and 12. The manifestation of unadulterated devotional service is exhibited when one's mind is at once attracted to hearing the transcendental name and qualities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is residing in everyone's heart. Just as, this is reminiscent of the prayer from Kunti's prayers, just as the water of the Ganges flows naturally down towards the ocean, such devotional ecstasy, uninterrupted by any material condition, ahoitakiya pratiyata, flows downward, flows toward the Supreme, as the Ganges flows to the sea. So that's the mind of one who's in transcendence. Their thoughts, their feelings, their everything flows towards the Supreme, spontaneously, naturally. To prove that this is the highest state of consciousness, Kapila gives an example. This is the very next verse. A pure devotee does not accept any kind of liberation. There's 5. even though they are offered by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Dhruva is an example, Prahlad is an example. As there's many, many examples in the Bhagavatam. No desire, even for liberation. Even if it's offered, please take it, please take it. No, thank you. And there's an explanation. We heard it already. When you're feeling fully satisfied by devotional service, you don't need anything. Or another way of saying the same thing, right from Bhagavad Gita, is one who is engaged in devotional service, they're already liberated. One who's engaged in unalloyed devotional service is on the platform of liberation. Brahmabhuta prasanatma nasochati nakangsati samak sarveshu bhuteshu vad bhaktin labhate param. So Brahmabhuta, the phrase Brahmabhuta, means self-realized. No hankering, no lamenting. Next phrase. There's no desire. And there's no lamentation. And they're seeing all living entities, although covered in different ways, they see the living entities in their true position, in the transcendental position. And it's from that position, from that consciousness, that devotional service begins. So devotional service begins means pure devotional service, because that's what devotional service is. It's unmixed. So chapter 13 of 29 says the same thing. Even if offered liberation, no thank you. To get to that position, how do you get to that position? With the sadhana. So here's 4 verses, right in sequence with those previous ones. But what's the sadhana for pure devotional service? That's a good question, isn't it? I mean, there are different ways to explain in different places. Here's text 20, explaining the concept, not exactly, because this comes after the sadhana verses. As the chariot of air carries an aroma from its source and immediately catches the sense of smell, similarly, one who constantly engages in devotional service in Krishna consciousness, one can catch the Supreme Soul who is equally present everywhere. So it's not exactly you capture as if you put him in a cage or something like that. But your affinity towards him captures his affection for you. And you capture him by your affection. He's not manipulated by or restricted by, but he's responsive to the affection of his pure devotee. Naturally so. As the rest of the chapter unfolds, it's again like a lawyer building a case. He's making statements, and then they reach a conclusion. Here's some statements, the characteristic of consciousness of someone who has pure devotional service. When our consciousness reaches a certain stage, Brahmabhuta, then the activities in devotional service obtain the power to bring the soul to the Lord. So bhakti has the power to bring the soul to the source. Bhakti is most valuable. If you want to reach the source of your existence, or the Supreme, very powerful method, bhakti, because bhakti has the power to bring the soul to the Supreme. Not much endeavor is required to be near the Lord. one's subjective experience of devotional service becomes increasingly powerful. That is to say, like what the UV index goes up and down. It's supposed to be this upcoming stretch of time. It's going to be getting really hot, and the UV index is going to get really hot. So when it's really, really high, exposure to the direct sunlight you can get cancer, skin cancer from too much. So you have to be careful. The intensity increases. And what's the limit of the intensity of the sun? Whatever that is, the intensity of bhakti is far greater. And one will experience the effects of bhakti proportionate to one's eagerness to be situated in a relationship with the Supreme. Here's a nice example. It's found in one of the Puranas, I forget which one, I think Agni Purana, where Prahlad makes a statement that the elephants that were trying to trample him were unable to do so because the Lord protected him by his constant remembrance. So that's all Prahlad did. He didn't run away, or he didn't have some kind of supernatural power. He just had bhakti. And because of the bhakti in his particular case, of the 9 processes of devotional service, he was perfected in the process of remembrance. And by remembering the Lord, the elephant couldn't trample him. He makes in a statement in another Purana that the tusks of the elephant that were trying to pierce my body, they couldn't do so because of the power of my remembrance of you. Material forces that can be very hurtful in the case of Prahlad, or the case of anyone that has fully absorbed in devotional service, in his case, it's remembrance, one protected. There's a power that surpasses any material power. And there's also material powers that block the power of bhakti. In our conditioned state, it's almost impossible task to remember the Lord right now. Our devotional service does not have this power. So if you need that power in order to make that Krishna connection, what do you do? Which comes first, the power or the ability to connect with Krishna? He answers. What's the cause of the power of devotional service being blocked? This is that verse again. We'll see this. This verse is the theme verse. I am present in every living entity as the super soul. If someone neglects or disregards that super soul everywhere and engages himself in the worship of the deity in the temple, that is simply adambanam, imitation. Raghunath Das Goswami uses the word dambanam also. And there's a nice verse, there's a nice book that Raghunath Das wrote, Manashiksha. And in that book, he describes the method of achieving raga bhakti, or ragatmika bhakti. At the very, very beginning, hitva dambam. In all circumstances, hitva means to give up. Dambam, pride. So the same Sanskrit root, dambanam. someone neglects or disregards that super soul everywhere and engages himself in the worship of the deity of the temple, is simply same, imitation. 4 times. So these 4 times, this is part 1 of a series of 8 or so seminars on, or topics on this, on chapter 329. Kapila Deva is teaching, and the acharyas are explaining very clearly the value of devotion service. We won't achieve it unless we understand the Lord is in every living entity and respect every living entity accordingly. It's really quite simple, but it's difficult because we're conditioned souls. So 2, Vishwanath and Jiva Goswami explain these four are stages of envy. And we'll see what those stages of envy are. And the stages of envy hold one prisoner. The first one, that's this fellow on the left. That's neglecting others. So I'm worshiping the deity, but I'm not paying proper regard and respect to other living entities. It can be whether it's literally sitting right there, or it can be in the rest of what my activities are in life. I'm worshiping the deity, and now I'm engaging with others, and I have a sense of superiority or haughtiness, and I don't properly regard them as they should be. Avagya. Right in the verse. No, it's okay. Avagya. Then that becomes more intense or more severe, called upeksha. You turn away. So we'll hear as we go forward, but I'm looking down at others, thinking of myself as a superior in one way or another way. And I yet consistently hold myself in that position. I don't necessarily say anything, I just have some superiority regard about myself. And the second case is not just feeling that, but I choose to ignore that person. It's a little more focused. And then finally comes hatred. And then finally after hatred is making offense, sadhuninda. Each stage grows more severe, both internally and externally. So this is the next 4 verses. Here's the avagya verse, or the word in the verse. Recognize this text 21, sorry. Aham sarvasya bhuteshu. I am present in every living entity as the Supersoul. Kapila Deva speaking. If someone neglects or disregards that Supersoul everywhere and engages himself in the worship of the deity in the temple, that is simply imitation. Simply imitation. Vidambanam. There's the word. Dambam. V means very. Very dambam. Very. It's translated in Madhurya, in Manashiksha as pride. Dambam. And here's V dambam. So I'm worshiping, but I'm prideful. It's imitation. At least that's a translation that Prabhupada gave. And our acharyas give similar meanings to vidambanam. So there's the illustration. There's a fellow on the right. He's worshiping the deity. And there's all kinds of people, and there's a cow, and there's a dog, and there are others. And I'm just not paying attention to those others. Sorry, Prabhu, I'm busy with my devotional service, my deity worship. But there's nothing wrong with being focused in your deity worship. Not to the point of being disrespectful or disregarding others. An elevated soul doesn't do that. So avagya, looking down on others. Avagya is the subtle beginning of envy. Ava, as in the word avatar, avatar means one who descends. So ava has the meaning of down. And gya means to know. So I look down upon others. To look at someone, to know someone, or to see someone from a little above, looking down. So from the spiritual world, Vaikuntha realm, avatars descend to this realm. An avagya person is they see someone, but they don't necessarily say, I'm superior to you, but that's their feeling. And it's not species specific, it's pervasive. It manifests looking down on others. There's a little illustration of somebody looking down on somebody else. One feels I'm superior. Appears as slight haughtiness or pride. Outwardly, nothing is said or done, but inwardly, one relegates others to a lower level. So that's the beginning of this obstacle of envy that has the power to block the power of bhakti. I, looking down upon others, am not going to feel ecstasy. I may feel pride, but I'm not going to feel spiritual ecstasy. It blocks the power of transcendental happiness. Continuing the same. So here's a fellow, again, he's a worshiper of the deity, and then there's another fellow that's come before him, and he looks like just like a shadow. Vishwanath explains that devotional service becomes sankochita, or weakened, because of this offense. So it's not that the sun shines less brightly when there's clouds in the sky, but our experience subjectively of the light and the heat of the sun, it diminishes because of clouds in the sky. Similarly, because of the offense of avagya, or failing to honor and properly receive another, our devotional service subjectively for us becomes weakened. And here's two nice stories. One nice story, this is a conventional once upon a time story. Once upon a time. A Brahmana from Bengal heard a lot about Vrindavan, so he decided to make a pilgrimage to Vrindavan. Young man. And when he got to Vrindavan, much to his happiness, he found a really nice sadhu. And he did service for the sadhu and this and that and the other thing. And in the course of time, he made a request of the sadhu, please give me mantra diksha. So the sadhu didn't say yes or no. He rather gave him an assignment of service. This is Vrindavan. Go here and there, wherever you can find people in Vrindavan, and see if you can find someone who's inferior to you. And if you can find them, bring them here. So young man, he's heard about the colony in Vrindavan where street sweepers stay, the Bungi colony. So he went to the Bungi colony and he thought, oh, there's a street sweeper. So he's lower than me. But then he thought about it some more and he thought, well, actually, he's in constant contact with the dust of Vrindavan. And I'm here as a visitor, but his whole life he's just been in contact with the dust of Vrindavan. So he's not lower than me, he's above me. Some time passed and he thought, I know that besides Bunkies, there's stray dogs in Vrindavan. I'll find a stray dog and bring the stray dog to Guruji. But when he got to the dog and he was observing the dog, he was remembering dogs are celebrated for being faithful to their master. And I'm not faithful like that. So I can't say that I'm above him. So he continued and he thought maybe a cow, because cow is a lower species. So he went to the cow, but then he thought, the cow just eats grass and gives very nutritious food for all living beings without discrimination. So, and I'm not like that. I am very fruitive in my tendencies to do things to get something. So I'm not, the cow is not lesser than me. She's greater than me. Then the fourth one, this is the conventional story in Braj. He thought, worm and stool, that's definitely lower than me. And so he found a big pile of stool and he saw the worms in the stool and he thought, well, the stool in Vrindavan is the remnants of Prashadam. And Prashadam is sacred. So the worm that's in the stool is getting the remnants of the Prashadam that's sacred. So I can't say that I'm superior to the worm and stool. So he went back to Guruji and told Guruji, I couldn't find anyone, and told him the four categories. So Guruji said, you're genuinely humble, I'll give you Diksha. And he was very happy. Very similar example, I like this one. This is it looks like a comic book illustration of Dronacharya, who's seated under the tree, giving military training to the sons in the Kuru dynasty, the royal family members. So to all of them, without distinction, he didn't say Kauravas, Pandavas, it was just the Kuru dynasty descendants. And while giving the training, he made two requests, one to Yudhisthira and one to Duryodhana. To Yudhisthira, the assignment was, go anywhere you like in this whole kingdom and find someone who is inferior. So, next, Duryodhana, find someone who's superior. And Yudhisthira couldn't find anyone that was inferior. He went everywhere and everywhere and everywhere. But Duryodhana was a proud person. He was really accomplished in finding faults with other people. And he returned explaining to Dronacharya, I couldn't find one single person who was inferior to me. And Drona processed this. If Duryodhana were to become the king, everything would be ruined. Everyone would become like him. And if Yudhisthira were to become king, he is humility personified. So the Kuru dynasty will be conducted very nicely. Same point. I'm going to just, I don't need to go through this. Devotional service has power and pride and avagya block that power. It's subtle, but even without saying something or doing something, it blocks the power of pure bhakti. And when we don't feel satisfaction in pure devotional service, we try to get it somewhere else, seeking appreciation from others. If there's even a slight difference between what we are doing when we are with others and when alone, this is vidambanam, or hypocrisy. Okay, I'm going to skip all this. Okay, I want to go through all four and then we're going to end. Upeksha is in the very next verse. That was 21. This is 22. Here's the verse in the translation. One who worships the deity of Godhead in the temples, but does not know that the Supreme Lord, as Paramatma, is situated in every living entity's heart, must be in ignorance and compared to one who offers oblations and ashes. So oblations and ashes, we don't... Fire yagya, when pouring ghee and grain, is an offering to the tongue of Vishnu. The fire represents or is a manifestation of Vishnu and the tongue of Vishnu. And we're offering ghee to the tongue of Vishnu. It's actually Agni, but he's accepting on behalf of Vishnu because the mantras are Vishnu-centered mantras. So, supposing the fire is extinguished and one continues to pour ghee into the ashes, what good will come from that? A lot of smoke, but no benefit. And so, upeksha is stronger than envy, stronger than the disregard, silent disregard. Because in the upeksha stage, one purposely, deliberately avoids others, or at least a certain other that they're feeling envy towards. I was preparing this presentation when I was in China to present to the Chinese devotees. And I had 3 conversations where they didn't say, but it was very clear that the conflict that they were having in their heart and in their life and in their service was that of avoiding other people. Groups of other people. And they were unhappy. When there's a little haughtiness, one doesn't mind associating despite harboring envy. But now I can't stand to be around those people. So this is a more advanced stage. It doesn't mean, important, it doesn't mean the behavior is okay, some bad behavior is okay. It means that the soul is different than the behavior. We make a distinction, the covering and the soul that has a covering. Even in the case of someone that does something bad, super soul is within their heart. And if super soul is in their heart, they're worthy of respect. Just on that platform, not the behavior platform. Here's another diagram showing the same. There, in the upper left, there's a heart. And then animosity and resentment are covering the heart. And when animosity and resentment towards a person is covering the heart, it's like pouring ghee into ashes. No result comes. Now, to recognize a bad behavior in someone, to respect that someone or to not disrespect that someone, doesn't mean we have a particular fondness, and to the point where we treat them as if they're, the example given here is, if you see a tiger, you don't embrace the tiger. Pandita samadarshana. So we don't do that. There's some safe distance between you and the tiger, but don't hate the tiger because he's a tiger. And to stay in that position, one can stay in that position for a long time. Again, these references in China. These devotees have been in that space for a long time, and I don't see too much changing over time. Then the third stage is dvesha. One who offers me respect, this is Kapila to Devahuti, but is envious of the bodies of others and is therefore a separatist. You see in the second line, bina darshanaha, the separatist phrase. Because Prabhupada has used this translation, bina. Darshana means to see others separate or separately. Therefore, a separatist never attains peace of mind because they're behaving or having regard, an inimical regard towards others. I'm going to go fast forward because it's taking too much time. There's the fellow, he's wishing something bad happens to another person. There's a well-known incident in some part of the world. There was a very active preacher, and he was a little showy. He liked displaying his success. Then in that country, there was a court case against the religion ISKCON, and that fellow was publicly broadcasting, they're having this difficulty because they offended me, and Krishna is punishing them. So that's you see the expression on his face. He's just wishing something bad happens to another person because of that dvesha towards that other person, or dveshataha. And it's very difficult to cure people who are in that stage. Very difficult. They don't get peace, and without peace or contentment, self-contentment, it makes the mind agitated. I was just, on the way over here, I was reading a letter sent in my phone, and the person has been through a series of bad circumstances. They have a relative, it's not, anyway, without the details, some relative misbehaved. And the relative that misbehaved took their father's money. And the mother of, or the husband of the man whose money was stolen, she's now like, what to do? Because the man is saying bad things about the husband, and he stole his money, and now he's disappeared. And the whole, anyway, it went on and on. The whole family is in upheaval over the misconduct of someone. And as a result, they're having difficulty in performing their sadhana. Their mind is to sit down to chant, and their mind is disturbed over da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. In this material world. So you behave harshly towards others, and it's going to disturb you and disturb the others. And we are not going to be peaceful and others are not going to be peaceful. It's very difficult to cure someone who has this stage. And here's this ninda stage, the absolute worst. Sadhu ninda, we know that phrase from the 10 offenses against the holy name. My dear mother, Kapila is speaking to Devahuti, even if he, the offender, worships me with proper rituals and paraphernalia, a person who is ignorant of my presence in all living entities never pleases me by the worship of my deities in the temple. So it's problematic for that bhakti becomes blocked for that person. And once that fourth of the four stages has reached, it's really difficult to bring that person around. One manifests hatred in a visible way by blaspheming the devotee. One actually starts saying everything one feels about the devotee and at the same time feel justified. And they're justifying is, what did I do wrong? I'm just saying what's truthful. We've heard that one before. So this is called the mad elephant offense. You know this one. Hatimata. The elephant leads an elephant into your garden and he's going to trample everything in the garden. So this offense of criticizing, vilification, ninda, offending a Vaishnava, very serious, very serious. And there's reactions we'll see as we go forward. Sharp arrows, this is from Kapila Dev's, from the teachings of Krishna to Uddhava, 11th canto. Sharp arrows which pierce one's chest and reach the heart do not cause as much suffering as arrows of harsh, insulting words spoken by materialists that become lodged within the heart. Arrows of insulting words is much more powerful than arrows. The devotee that we hurt will feel pain for so long, and Krishna will not be pleased. So this is back to the verse, because there's 4 verses, 21, 22, 23, 24. I'm going to go forward because of time. What to do, because this is the end is coming. There's the next section, Kapila Dev is going to say what to do about this mess. Those forces, particularly this envy that blocks the power of bhakti, and everyone has it, it's right in Bhagavad Gita. There are 2 forces that bring every living entity in the material world. Icha, dvesha, or raga, dvesha, envy. We all have envy in our dvandva mohena bharata. Everyone takes birth in this place of duality because of these 2 forces. So they accompany us. We wouldn't come here if we don't have it. Everyone, we are embodied souls, means we have it. We all have envy in our heart, one way or another, but we should never allow ourselves to justify our feelings and feel isolated, etc., etc. So then comes what to do. Now, stepping back at conclusion, the purpose of presenting this seminar is to increase appreciation of what's in the Bhagavatam and to help all of us understand how do we get to pure devotional service. Because we hear about devotional service, and devotional service means pure devotional service. How do you get there? And what are the obstacles to get there? And what do you do to overcome the obstacles that prevent you from getting there? And then make messes along the way with other people, unintentionally or whatever, and just live in the world without purity, and you're going to have a mess. It's not like shame on you. It's just like that's the nature of the place. What to do? So he's going to give an answer. It's very nice and very simple. Of course, bhakti is at the heart, but then there's bhakti how. What are the qualifiers of bhakti that help? And the how is very simple, and the essence is respect. Even if this and that and the other. Behaviors can be problematic. And if you are engaged with somebody that has harsh behavior or harsh words, you may want to keep a respectful distance, but don't abandon respect. Because super soul is within. So the objective is to come to pure devotional service. We'll hear a lot. This is a nice topic. Let's see if there's some discussion. I've been going on too long, but you've been patient. Comments? He wants you, because this is going, the live broadcast. No, you keep the microphone, but I can hear you without the microphone, but the people that are remote can't hear you without the microphone.
Sure. So Maharaj, thank you. It was very enlightening, especially coming with you in the car, and we had some of this discussion. It hit me directly here. We are in a constant fight given the multifaceted problems we face as a grahastha. So to attain pure devotion in this situation, is it not very impossible?
Why do you say that?
I mean,
How can we propose something that's impossible? We're not proposing something. The Bhagavatam doesn't invite us to do something that's impossible. So don't ask such a question.
so the where I'm coming from is, Maharaj, is that we see...
You're coming from illusion because it's not impossible. Pure devotional service is our objective. That's our goal. It's not impossible. Where you're coming from is illusion.
Okay.
Sorry to say.
But we are always... okay. So the
We
thing
have
is...
shortcomings. We're this and that and the other thing and the other thing. Acknowledge it. And then get out your broom and dustpan and start doing some cleanup. Not out there, but in here. Consciousness. For someone who's, for Srila Prabhupada, for someone who's unmistakably, unquestionably situated in pure Krishna consciousness, did they not have to undergo the same type of stuff that you're saying, yeah, but 10 times greater, but he remained undisturbed? How is that possible? Krishna consciousness. It's Bhakti Shakti, when protected. Even when it's stormy, even when it's a hurricane, even when it's a tornado, even when it's tsunami. Kali Yuga tsunami.
No, Maharaj, we are a conditioned soul, and we are affected by desires as it cannot be annihilated. So under such circumstances...
Yeah, then desires need to be directed properly. Desire that's directed towards Krishna should be pleased, that's the remedy. It doesn't mean that one who has accomplished that, it does not mean that there's no disturbance. Disturbance stops because they're nice people. So, the disturbances go away. The disturbances the circumstance still continues, but their state of mind is different. Their heart is different. Their orientation of life is different. So get with it. And I don't think it's helpful to list what the problems are, because we'll be here till tomorrow morning hearing what the problems are. That's the consciousness. How do you address yourself to such circumstances? Dukkhalayam ashashvatam, limited and temporary. How do you, and again and again, sometimes the volume is louder, sometimes the waves are higher, sometimes it's totally turbulent, sometimes it's calm, and sometimes. And how do you navigate your way through that? So stick around for part 2, rather than taking me to part 2 before we're there yet.
Sure. Thank you, Maharaj.
Okay. Anyone else? Yeah.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. So Maharaj, on the part of when you know that someone carries envy or hatred against you, you can feel it sometimes through their expressions or
yeah.
actions.
Yeah.
And it's sometimes the actions are painful. So
Yeah.
you kind of start sometimes getting dragged in your own envious response, right? Even if you don't want to. Because, especially because I'm a Ram follower,
Especially because why?
because I follow Ram, so sometimes my heart says, how can he or she do something unethical or wrong being a devotee? And I know I'm getting dragged into the same envy.
Yeah.
How do you control that?
Oh.
Maharaj?
I'm going to tell Prabhupada's story that answers your question.
Sure, Maharaj.
You know, who is Bhakti Tirtha Swami? You've heard his name?
Yes, Maharaj.
African-American devotee.
Yes.
You know, there's a lot to say about him, but, you know, he came from a ghetto in Cleveland, and he got a full scholarship at Princeton University because it was a time in America where it was a cool thing to do, to reach out to, you know, disenfranchised African Americans and give them a chance. So he got a full scholarship. And in 4 years, he became the president of his class and the #1 student, valedictorian it's called, the top academic student and the leader of his, he was a leader. And during that period of time, he was headed for the moon. I mean, persons of his caliber had their career already paved with gold. Something happened. In the course of his senior year, we had a Harinam, a book distribution party that visited Princeton University, and he got a copy of Ishopanishad. And he read it. And when he graduated, right from his graduation, he went straight to the Hare Krishna temple and moved into the temple. I mean, there was a little, but it wasn't just impulsive. He was a very intelligent young man. 1 year later, he's in Prabhupada's quarters and said something like what you said. He said, I don't know what to do, but I want you to know that in the Hare Krishna movement, there's religious prejudice, racial prejudice. And Prabhupada, and so he was like, he narrated this to me. It was like, it was such a big, important question for him. And how is Prabhupada going to answer it? And he gave it a very transcendental answer. He said, that's not good. But if you're disturbed, then you're no better than they are. You're seeing in terms of the body. And you're hurt because they're seeing you in terms of your body, and you're seeing them in terms of, they see you in terms of your body. He's part of the same. And it was wasn't a slap in the face. It was a wake-up call. Don't go there. Don't make that same mistake. Because it's a mistake, yes. Not good. Don't make the same mistake from your end. And then you gave the further explanation of what he should do. But live an exemplary life. That's not based upon the color. So, and that's what he did, because he was such a devotee. Very qualified person. So, it touched on it. It's going to be more in this whole seminar. But so if the behavior is bad, or the speech is bad, or combination is bad, doesn't make it good. Being respectful doesn't mean now all that bad becomes good. It is what it is. But be respectful to the super soul within, so that Krishna is pleased, and then appropriate behavior according to the speech or the conduct that's harsh. All the while respecting the soul and the super soul, because they're not part of the behavior. So one needs to know what's dharma, what's proper conduct. And one also needs to know that's the external, and then one needs to know with respect in the internal cultivation. How do I orient and align myself to Krishna in such a way I remain undisturbed even when there's cause of disturbance? Being connected to transcendence, bhakti yoga, in all circumstances. That's, there's details that we're going to hear the whole, this ongoing seminar. Many, many classes of recommended things aside from bhakti. But, they're subsets of bhakti, and therefore they have the power of bhakti because they're subsets of bhakti. Because Krishna is to be pleased is the purpose. He likes the microphone, huh? Shy too. Okay. Something else? Yeah.
Thank you for this class. I feel like I love that slide in the story of the...
Which one?
The devotee looking for someone not above them, no, lower than, wait, was it above? In Vrindavan, yeah. And it was like really seeing the good in everyone was the message I got from that. And earlier before that, you were speaking about how we can't get rid of desires and mindfulness, right? And how that's the goal of mindfulness. But then I was thinking of how much Srila Prabhupada also talks about hankering and lamenting, which the hankering is pulling you forward, lamenting is regretting things in the past. And I was wondering if you could speak a little bit about the difference between materially hankering and lamenting and spiritually hankering and lamenting, because we hear a lot of in the songs of our acharyas, there seems to be hankering and lamenting, right? And so I was just hoping you could speak a little bit about the difference.
Sure. It's really simple. Who's at the center?
I was thinking, okay, the ego's attached to one and the ego's not attached to the other, but what are signs of that? Because it can...
Well, behavior and speech. Lakshana. In chapter 13, verses 8 through 12, there's characteristic of one who's in knowledge. Amanitvam adambitvam. The same as what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says in Shikshastaka. humility and pridelessness. There's characteristics. And when you can't, it's not cosmetic. It's either there or it's not there. So one who is situated in pure devotional service, it's there. Supposing it's not there. Supposing I have pride and I don't have respect for other living entities. Then that's transparent. One can see that in that person's behavior and speech. So when it's genuine, it's there consistently. Bhakti has a foundation. I gave the example of there's a floor. We have confidence that we walk across the floor, we're not going to fall through the floor. Reasonable. It's resting upon something. And then what's everything resting upon? Keep going and going and going, and everything is resting upon Krishna. If one has that understanding, there was a period of time, this is, Prabhupada, there was a period of time when there was a lot of concern about nuclear war. And, in the world, and because it was in the world, the devotees were, talking about it. And Prabhupada said, what's the problem? Look up in the sky. Here comes a bomb. Here comes Krishna. What is there to worry? No. He lived his life that way. He was fearless. Now, how does one become like that? That's one of our topics. How does one become qualified like that? So back to your question, how do you tell when someone is there and it's cosmetic? It's consistent, always. In their speech and their behavior, always. And otherwise, it can be, it's influenced by the modes of nature, sometimes and sometimes not, sometimes and sometimes not, depending upon which way the wind is blowing, or depending upon the modes of nature. So one who is in transcendence is not impacted by the modes of nature. Go ahead.
It just seems like all of us that are not there yet, we all have these mixed feelings, and I guess it shouldn't be, it's not really hypocrisy, it's just we're on the path.
Okay, that's honesty. Now, Kapila Dev teaches, what do you do when you're not there yet? There's this and that, and the other thing, and there's these things that block bhakti. What should you do? You don't stop worshiping the deity. He gives very, it's explanation of devotional service. He explains. So in principle, you continue with the regulative, accepting I'm not there yet, and with the aspiration, because this is the intention topic that we talked about yesterday, with the intention that I want to get there. I want to be in the intimate association with Krishna. That's our japa retreat topic also. That's my aspiration, my sankalpa. I'm not there yet. I'm honest, and I know what the goal is. With sincerity, small quality, so with sincerity, let me continue making my best effort that Krishna should be pleased. And when Krishna smiles, that's it. Whatever my situation is, whatever planet I'm in, whatever body I'm in, whatever, it's okay, because my connection with Krishna is substantial. Now, when one's connection with Krishna is substantial, there's humility, profound humility. They don't feel that. They don't advertise themselves. Yay, the bell rang, I made it. Their humility increases. And the refinement of their aspiration towards what the goal is becomes higher and purer and greater definition, which lends to more humility, because like that, I'm not there yet. Humility is not, I'm not there yet, is not a stop. It's not a brake pedal. It's impetus to go further because of faith. And, maybe I shouldn't have, but, to shut the question down, can we really get there? Srimad Bhagavatam is not espousing fiction. We're meant to get there. Okay. Yes.
Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj. My question is, so it's my personal, like my behavior, that if somebody uses harsh word, I just, I don't react. I became very, I can't use harsh word in response to that person, and it stays in my heart.
Yes.
So, and I say to Krishna, that person uses that words to me. So is it a right thing, is it the right thing to do, not standing up for yourself?
Is it the right thing to do to not defend yourself?
Yeah.
That's your question.
Yeah.
Again, who is at the center? So
Krishna.
It's possible that you can say something and keep Krishna in the center. It takes elevated consciousness to do that. And because otherwise it's animal, cat and dog fight, snarling and barking and back and forth. It's animal life. That's easy. It's impulse, defending. And then there's transcendental. So is it possible? It's possible, but it's rare. And therefore, for most of us, don't in the moment, get back. That's motive. That's ignorance. Driven by ignorance. Revenge. And if not today, then tomorrow. I'm going to get them tomorrow. I'll show them. So that's driven by ignorance. So is it possible to be in transcendence and say something? Yes. But it's exceptional. And if you're not there, then my mother used to say, if you can't say something nice, don't say anything at all. That was like, a Christian perspective. Be nice. And then not necessarily be transcendental. So there's a value of be nice, that's nice. But it's not what real nice is. Real nice is you consider the way, feel some compassion for this person who's speaking or behaving badly. There's something inside that's paining them. Feel compassion for that which is paining them. They've been the victim and now they're being the perpetrator of what. So, it's compassion. And so that's the feeling instead of the retaliation. And then the next question is, what can I do? Is there something I can do to help that person? Not in the rescue or in victim, modality, that one. But so that Krishna will be pleased. Is there something I can do that can help this person get on the other side of that perpetrator, continuing to be the perpetrator of what you were the victim of? Is there something I can do? And even if you don't have an answer right away, it's a good parking place for you to go, a safety place, the mood of a genuine mood of being in service to another. When I don't necessarily know what's to be done right now, today, this moment, but I'm not going to get caught up in the retaliation. I want to do it pleasing to Krishna. So you can pause, hit the pause button until it becomes clear. And if you keep with the question, more likely you're going to get an answer than if you don't ask the question. From experience, when you don't have an answer to a question like that, something else, to something, and then you start to say, oh, then you start, the context was too sensitive, so you couldn't see that something else that's less sensitive, you can see, or another person. So then you know what to do. Aside from saying, for the time being, just smile and remain silent, and remain respectful to the soul and super soul within. Remain undisturbed, even in the cause of disturbance, with the mood of service, so that Krishna is pleased.
Thank you very much.
Okay?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
I grew up in a Hindu family from the time of birth. So
Okay.
hearing about Krishna, Shiva, and everything from the time you are born, right? But in all tradition of Hinduism, you are taught Krishna, they all preach, even if you listen to a lot of other swamis from other sampradayas in YouTube, they all address Krishna as an avatar.
Yeah.
But when I come to ISKCON in 1986, we don't address Krishna as an avatar. He's
avatari.
Swayam Krishna, avatari. So how did this thing creep up in the entire 99% of Hinduism, where Krishna is seen just as another god or avatar of Vishnu or something like that? I just don't get it. The only place I hear is Krishna as an avatari, not incarnation of anybody, is in ISKCON, in Gaudiya Vaishnava
Okay.
tradition.
We talked about this last night. Last night. Were you there last night? No. Okay. It's probably recorded, but a question came, not exactly this question, but something similar. So there's a phrase about Sanskrit composition where in order to understand a text, a book, there's a Paribhasa Sutra. Sutra, you know the meaning. Paribhasa means it has certain qualifications. It's a sutra that generally comes at the beginning of a text or towards the beginning of a text. And is to understand the text, it's necessary to understand this sutra. It's the key that opens the door to the whole book. So in the Bhagavatam, that one verse, that's the Paribhasa Sutra, says what you just said. So it's the emphasis on Srimad Bhagavatam. So, Ete Changsa Kala Pungsang Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. It's in Canto 1, Chapter 3, where is a list of avatars. I'll say it slowly. In that list of avatars of Vishnu, Krishna is listed as an avatar of Vishnu, because that's standard. And then this verse says, and amongst all the avatars of Vishnu, Krishna is the source of Vishnu. So I'll say it slowly. I'll break it down a little bit. There's a depiction in the Bhagavatam of the spiritual sky. And the spiritual sky has many Vaikuntha planets. And the presiding deities or forms of Vishnu or Narayana in those Vaikuntha planets. And they sometimes descend to this plane. They're avatars. And then the description is of all those Vaikuntha realms and the forms of Narayana, one is the source of all of them. There's the manifestation in this realm, but there's in the spiritual realm. And in that spiritual realm, there's these three that's also well known in scripture. Hindus know this one. Vasudeva, Sankarshan, Pradyumna, and Aniruddha. The four, Chatur Vyuha. You've heard the term? Chatur means four. Forms of the Lord. Vasudeva, Sankarshan, Pradyumna, and Aniruddha. So those four are situated in Goloka. Those four are situated in Vaikuntha, and they make their manifestations in avatar forms when they appear in this world. So what's the Vishnu, avatars of Vishnu? Those forms of Vishnu, what are they? Because what's Vishnu? Vishnu is all pervasive. I'm giving a longer explanation of that one verse. I'll refer you to the other verse when I'm done. Ete changsa kala pungsang. But so there is one source of everything. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, in this verse also, Krishna is the source of everything. He's the source of Vishnu. And he's an avatar of Vishnu because he appears in this world as if he's an avatar of Vishnu. How did Krishna appear? The demigods went to the shore, demigods headed by Lord Brahma, went to the shore of the Milk Ocean, where Vishnu resides. And they offered prayers, Purusha Sukta prayers. And Vishnu replied, yes, I'll come to give you relief. And various demigods should also appear to assist me when I perform the pastime of killing the overabundance of demons. You familiar with this? Mother Earth in the form of a cow came to the demigods, and then they went to the shore of the Milk Ocean. They offered their prayers. Tell the demigods, Lord Brahma, he's the only one that heard the reply. Tene Brahma Hridaya Adikavaye Muyanti Yat Surayaha. Brahma heard and repeated to them, Vishnu said he'll come, and he wants you to appear on earth to assist him in his pastimes. So when Krishna performed his pastime, his avatar Leela, although he's the avatari, he came as an avatar of Vishnu, because Krishna is the source of Vishnu. Krishna is the source of everything. Aham sarvasya prabhavo matak sarvam pravartate iti matva bhajante. You know the verse? Okay. It's 10th chapter, verse number 8, I think. Opulences of the Absolute, and Krishna makes this statement. I'm the source of everything. Say it negatively. There isn't something that exists that Krishna's not the source of. Or Prabhupada's way of saying, same thing. There's two things. There's Krishna and there's Krishnas, and there's not a third thing. So he's the source of everything, including the forms of Vishnu and the forms of Narayan in the Vaikuntha realm, and the avatars. He's the source of everything. Although he appears in Canto 1, Chapter 3, Bhagavatam, as an avatar of Vishnu. But he's the source of Vishnu. He's the source of everything. So, back to your question. Why is it? Because they don't place the emphasis on Srimad Bhagavatam. So what's special about this Srimad Bhagavatam, please? That, it's not in the other parts of the Vedas, but it's in Srimad Bhagavatam? What's that? It's in Vedanta Sutra. It's in Taittiriya Upanishad. And it's expanded in detail in the Bhagavatam. But the foundation of it is from the Vedas, because the Vedas is the foundation of everything. It's right in Bhagavad Gita. I'll show you the verse. Oh, you can look it up. You have a Bhagavad Gita at home. Chapter 13, text 5. Look carefully, like 5 times. Read the purport carefully. And the absolute truth is realized in features. 5. From Taittiriya Upanishad, from Atharva Veda. But it's expanded more completely in the Bhagavatam. So most people don't understand the Upanishads. They don't understand Bhagavad Gita. So they don't understand the Bhagavatam either. So you back to your question, why is it so general? Because they don't read carefully. And how does it, it's not just scholarship to read carefully, it's through disciplic succession. It's exactly what Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita. How many, let me ask you, how many versions of Bhagavad Gita are there? It's the same Sanskrit, but this means that. Because there's scholars that don't hear in disciplic succession. That's why. And if they hear in disciplic succession, it's quite simple. ABC simple. But here in disciplic succession, exactly what it says in Bhagavad Gita. And then it's very easy to understand. It's that there in Bhagavad Gita, it's there in Srimad Bhagavatam. The avatars of Vishnu, and Krishna is the source of Vishnu. So he's the source of the avatars. He's the source of everything. And there's a Paribhasa Sutra that if you want to understand the rest of the text, you have to understand that verse. If you can't understand that verse, you're not going to understand the text. That's why.
Pretty complex answer, but I will listen to the recording.
Okay. Okay. Paribhasa Sutra. Simple. Behind you, our host.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, thank you for giving this lecture. I didn't hear the whole thing, I was in between. But the part that really stuck with me is seeing Super Soul in everyone. Most of the time, people who are being trained in Krishna consciousness, they know this as a cardinal principle, right? But
Person being trained in Krishna consciousness, what happens?
they know this by, like, as in a first step, we train to see God in everybody.
Yeah.
But what doesn't come easy is reaction.
Yeah. We're bounded with the complexity of karma.
Okay.
Hand and foot, bound, prisoner, in the prison. And to keep doing the same thing again and again. Even it hurts. We keep doing the same thing. It's one of the detriments to advancing in bhakti, or obstacles for advancing in bhakti, is inability to maintain vows and inability, the weakness, the paucity in overcoming things that are bad habits. We continue doing the same, foolish, ignorant. Ignorance is the cause of suffering. How do you get out of it? It's not by book knowledge, it's by bhakti.
I think so.
And then the bhakti that comes through disciplic succession, that's what real bhakti is. Because otherwise it's not real bhakti, it's cosmetic. Or adambanam, in the words of Kapila in this chapter. It's imitation. So what's that bhakti that's not imitation? It's genuine. And what's that genuine? But, back to your point. when we actually have, and that's one of the statements he makes in the what to do. Here's the problem: what to do. Continue until that stage comes when you can experience, along with worshiping the deity form, some affinity and some reciprocal relationship with the deity, but you can see the form of the Lord in your heart and in the hearts of others. Now, the seeing doesn't necessarily mean with these eyes, but the seeing with devotion. And what does that mean? What does that look like? Well, the Association of Pure Devotees tells you what it looks like. And then it's experiential. It's meant to be experienced. It's not, a far out notion that you have to have a Hubble telescope and then you can see it. Maybe. It's not like that.
I have one more question.
Yeah.
Can I ask? It's the same question as Bhagavad Prabhu asked. Is so in Canto 7, chapter, I think 20. Hiranyakasipu is trying to occupy the post of Brahma. So I kept thinking, if Brahma is in a post, like anybody can be Brahma.
Yes, Brahma is a post, and other persons take that post.
So if Vishnu Mahesh is also the post, or
No.
it's just a direct expansion?
It's not a post. You can't occupy that post.
Got it.
It's a tattva, Shiva tattva.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Okay. Online question. And then we'll do. This is it. We'll end here.
This is from Srida Prabhu. He is trying to understand Nitya Nityanam verse where Krishna is conscious, supreme conscious. He is clear with that part, but he is saying, I'm not able to understand the supreme eternal amongst all other eternals.
Oh, that's easy. Living entities are eternal. And these are supreme eternal amongst all eternals. And not only all eternals, back to the earlier question, the forms of Vishnu are eternal. And he's the supreme eternal amongst all eternals. He's asking a question about a verse from the Vedas. Nityo Nityanam Chaitanas Chaitananam Eko Bahunam. Eko Bahunam. There's one amongst the many. Yo Vidadati Kaman. Oh. Okay. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.